Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
You know, and the interesting part, just to piggyback on that, is that because of your success, you're able to be around to experience all of that banter and that fun, you know, and I think it's a perfect segue into our conversation about New York and the governor, because what happened is she started, because of your success, it gave you the ability to have flexibility. And so what she did is she talks to the ultra wealthy and the ultra successful people with the most flexibility back in 2022. And she says, listen, if you don't like New York, you can go ahead and kick rocks and pound sands and bye-bye. And now in 2026, she turns her tune, man. So tell me what your thoughts are about that and just what's been going on in New York along those lines.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we didn't start off talking today about obviously the Iran conflict. It's not a war; it's a conflict, or whatever we're calling it today.
Yes, right.
The pain in everybody's ass is really what it is, but it is a temporary. It is. I do still believe it's temporary pain for a lot of long-term gain. But anyways, I'm shocked. Yeah, now she's online, Hochel's online or on news or whatever you call it today, begging. She's saying, we need all those people that went to South Beach to come back. Please. And Florida's just sweetening the pot by going, hey, we might just eliminate property taxes and state income tax. So come to Florida where there's no income tax already. And by the way, you might not have property tax.
That's
and it's
crazy.
To me, can you believe that? But here's the thing, Len.
If they bring an economic base, it's all mad. They can figure that out.
If anybody's read Atlas Shrugged, you'll understand what's going on. I highly encourage everyone to read Atlas Shrugged. How long is it? Like 48 hours on audio or something?
Yeah, it's a thick one.
But Len, tell me, dude, the people, the producers, the of the world, right? The people who construct, the creators of the world, the people that want to take the risk, that want to deploy capital, whether they deploy capital to invest at risk or they deploy their time, like you and I did initially, you know. They are going where they are recognized, where the currency is hard work to produce things. So, I mean, because you think about it, right? For example, you and I started off in insurance. Okay, bro, the products and services that were invented 1,000 years ago, we're benefiting from that still. 100%. Because if someone didn't invent insurance contracts, you and I wouldn't have a primary business that you and I initially got into.
That's right?
Well, anyways, for me, I mean, officially, you might have had stuff before that because you've been an entrepreneur longer than I have. But think about the amount of wealth that is still even today. If someone didn't create the personal computer, you and I wouldn't be sitting here talking on this thing. Because so the
innovation.
But see, Len, that's the thing that irritates me about where people have it backwards in America. And you know what it is?
What's that?
Where they look at someone like Hoche and they go, oh, but she has so much experience in government. What is that experience getting us?
Right.
Where it's like experience in doing what? Nothing. Right. So then when you look at somebody like, and I know you love this guy, but we'll just say it, Donald Trump has brought more economic prosperity still to New York City than a lot of people have, because people are still benefiting from the entrepreneurial activities that him and his family did in New York. People are still benefiting from the
love him or hate him. That's undeniable. That's for sure.
People are still benefiting from the opportunities his father was doing there. Right. So now she's begging, please come back. I think that we have yet to see. Actually, we are seeing it, but we have yet to see the breadth and domain of the mass internal migrations that happened in the country over the last few years post-COVID and continue to happen. I think California is now seeing one of those as the worst, because not only are, the $500,000 or up earners leaving California en masse, they've already left. A lot of them have left. Now you see the billionaires. Zuckerberg left, Elon left. I mean, think of it. Zuckerberg left.
Yes.
You know the data.
Right.
Len, would anyone say Zuckerberg left? I don't think so.
I wouldn't have seen that coming. Check this out. So New York lost $9.9 billion in adjusted gross income just from migration, according to IRS data. Florida
Did you say 9 billion?
9.9. So rounded up to $10 billion. So So check.
And how much is the deficit in New York? What's the deficit in New York right now?
I don't have those figures in front of me.
I want to say somewhere around 18.
Okay, so check this out. Florida gained over $20 billion of adjusted gross income, or AGI, inflow. And then California, just to throw them into the pot, between 2019 and 2023, they lost about $90 billion. So is not just the taxes, but it's a combination. So it's because of the cost of living, and those places are ridiculously high. And then also when you look at taxes, that's a given. And then also what happened is COVID really opened up the floodgates for remote work. So if I could go from New York to Florida, I live in a place that's sunny, the taxes are lower, and there's no state tax, and the property and the cost of living is lower. Why wouldn't I do that? And so this is also crazy. Companies that relocated to Florida from New York, the Citadel left and went to Florida, and then also Elliott Management, and who's considering shifting? Apollo Global Management and Goldman Sachs.
That's three massive financial institutions.
Huge. And Goldman Sachs is even considering to expanding to your state in Texas to expand
New Wall Street. New Wall Street to New Hollywood.
Absolutely.
You know what this tells me? And this is exactly why I fear about politicians. And this is exactly why there should be, here's the issue. The governments and states are just like businesses. Would you agree?
Absolutely. There's many ways. Absolutely.
You just have to add more of a human element to it.
That's right.
Right? Because you have to have basic social services. Mm-hmm. You have to have basic safety net social services. We're rich enough to have it. There should be basic medical social services. There should be basic food. There should be all of that stuff. All of it. There should be, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. And somebody told me this a long time ago. It was a lender. It was a very successful mortgage broker. And he said, houses are like miniature economies. And this is what governors and mayors like Hochul and Newsom and freaking Bass don't understand. They're so busy appealing to ideals. And that's fine. You should keep ideals there. But you and I know both firsthand, Len, ideals don't make the world go round in sense of putting food on the table and putting gas in the pipeline to keep the furnace on, right?
Economics drives the ability to be able to provide social services for the ones that need it.
Social services come after basic services are established.
Absolutely. 100%.
So he says single-family homes are like miniature economies. And see, this is exactly what you say. Well, adjusted gross income tax revenue left. But guess what? When you leave, so let's say, for example, you leave, you left your house. You're no longer paying a telephone bill in that state, electric bill, gas bill, utility bills, sales tax, grocery store, school tuitions, local tax, all that economic impact as a result of not just your income being taxed on an income tax basis, but you actually socially living and interacting and conducting commerce in that city, in that municipality is gone. It's evaporated. Mm-hmm. So that trickles all the way up to a state level budget. And now you have a broke state. And guess what? Those people that left just didn't make a lot of money. They employed the other people making minimum wage. Mm-hmm. So this is where you have politicians that have never had a balance sheet, have never had to pay a payroll, have never looked at a balance sheet 10 years into projections and go, wait a minute, if we do this, we're going to run off a cliff and create sustainability. Their answer is just, well, we don't. The answer is the spigot never turns off. Well, guess what? Eventually the spigot turns off, and now you're seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're seeing that.
It comes down to this idea of deferred gratification versus short-term thinking, right? Because a lot of times, to your point, if I'm a politician, I'm only thinking about how can I get reelected and what decisions can I make today that will make my immediate tomorrow better, and without regard to my future tomorrows. And so when Hochul said, hey, you guys can take off, she wasn't thinking long term that, in 2022, she could never foresee COVID happening. And so when COVID happened, she realized that, you know what, not only can I, as a creator of jobs and an innovator, I have the economic capacity and the flexibility to take my money and my tax revenue elsewhere because I can. And especially now that I can jump on a camera and do it, then I get out there and I realize, you know what? The governor is friendly towards me because they recognize the revenue that I bring in makes their community and their state better. And so now all they're going to do is start sweetening up the pot for me versus this other place. Okay, I've been there. There's some familiarity, but you look at me as the enemy. And anytime you want to get reelected, you want to tax me. And so when you look at the ramifications of that, California and New York, as much as you give them crap, you're right from an economic standpoint that they are making terrible decisions to disincentivize businesses. You know, for example, X left California to go. Who else? You had
X, Chevron, ConocoPhillips.
Absolutely.
ExxonMobil.
Yes.
Chevron. How long was Chevron was in California
Twitter.
for like since the 60s or the 50s?
Yeah,
bro.
exactly. And so when you have all of these factors that start to hit at the same time, now you lose so much credibility because you're not thinking for the long term. Because even though you may term out as a governor, you leave the rest of us here with the big mess. And it's really unfortunate that politicians don't think about their constituency. They think about themselves. And then the other part of it is that, like, for example, in New York with Kathy Hochul and then also Mandami, like, I like how he talks and I like how he expresses ideals, but there is no long-term evidence to support that taxing the wealthy works. It just doesn't. No. And so when you have that whole situation, you know, it's only going to get worse. If they continue to go down that path, the money and the intellectual innovators are going to leave and they're going to go to Florida and they're going to go to Texas. And so just imagine what that place will look like, both New York and California. If this trend continues, what'll happen in the next 10, 15, 20, let alone 50 years? And so I'm really, really pessimistic unless they start thinking more long term.
Well, you know that Hollywood's good at predicting the future, right? You agree with me on that? Like, you see Hollywood movies and you see the future,
movies
right?
project a lot. Absolutely.
Well, here's what I can tell you. The future has already been told about New York and LA because Kurt Russell was in a movie. I love Kurt Russell, by the way. I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan.
He's a great actor.
And you know what movies are? Escape from New York and Escape from LA. So if you want to know what New York and LA are going to look like, just watch those movies. The future, LA, California, and New York are already looking like both of those movies. So in 10, 15 years, you go, dude, what is California and New York going to look like? Just watch the movie, Escape LA and Escape from New York. It's going to be the same exact thing. You're going to go, holy crap. Yeah. Because it's exactly what's going on in those states, which is unfortunate because I love California. I grew up in San Diego. I mean, I love California. It's beautiful. But
I'm optimistic that somebody's at some point in time will figure it out because, you know, like, I can understand.
Please elect Hilton. Just elect Hilton. We'll see. Just put him in.
Yeah, we'll see. But California has so much to offer. I mean, because, you know, when you look at the weather, you look at all of, you know, just the whole biodiversity, it's a very unique state and I love it, but financially it sucks. It sucks to live here.
When is the last time you took a trip to Florida and actually drove around and stayed like 2 weeks in Florida in a nice place? I'm talking like that you would love, you know what you'd love? You'd love Orlando area, or you'd love like the suburbs of Orlando, or you would love Tallahassee, or you'd love Fort Lauderdale. Those are my three. I love every single one of those areas. Len, I spent some time in Tallahassee. I could not believe how beautiful it was there. I was like, And the beaches, I was like, get the hell out of here, man. Are you kidding me right now?
Florida's a beautiful state. I mean, my mom lives in Florida, so I've had a chance to, one time we flew in to Miami. We stayed in South Beach, hung out there, and then drove through Cocoa Beach and up the Panhandle, all the way up, because my mom lives in Jacksonville area, Orange Park. So we've seen all of Florida. So Florida definitely has a lot to offer. So that's definitely not out of the equation, but yeah, we'll see.
You know what surprises me? You know what surprises me about Florida so much, and Texas and all these areas? They have these big disasters and then they get hyped up by the media because the media is so jealous of them all the time. It's like all the blue states are jealous of the red state of Florida and Texas right now, kind of like the European Union is jealous of America, is envious of America. It's exactly the same thing. And go figure, they both think the same and they both want to be monarchs and stay monarchs, right? I mean, it's just weird, that behavior just always goes that way. But they're very envious of them. But here's what surprises me the most is California has a natural disaster and it eats them alive and they die, right? Like they have a disaster, like the fires, earthquakes, all this crap all the time. And by the way, California hasn't had a major earthquake since Northridge. Like, I pray that California doesn't experience an 8 because that state's toast. If an 8.0 hits the San Andreas Fault, which is I've heard since I was in grade school in California, LA's toast. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yep. A Category 5 hurricane comes through Florida, and it's like smack, and within a week they're fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A once in 1,000 year.
I mean, if you guys.
But that's my point, though. That's my point. Is when you have a state that responsibly manages resources and manages its natural environment, you can have proper emergency response. But when you have a state that are not emergency response managed, like case in point, look, Katrina and all that stuff, Louisiana, the hardest hitting areas are usually states that are not properly managed.
That's true.
And when those states get hit, they because again, states are businesses.
But we shall see. And until next time, we hope that you enjoyed this conversation of two people that completely disagree with each other. I think today was a little bit more agreeable than usual, but keep coming. And I'm sure that you will agree and disagree with both of us if you stay around long enough. So make sure you like, subscribe. Until next time, Chris, it's always a pleasure having these conversations with you.
See you then.
All right.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.